From an offspring of an aristocrat to an allegiance to Cobra, here's your look at the brand new Super 7 G.I. Joe Ultimate's Baroness Intelligence Officer. The spoiled offspring of wealthy European aristocrats, the Baroness graduated from student radicalism into international criminal activity, and finally into the ranks of Cobra. She was severely burned during a Cobra Night operation and has had extensive plastic surgery. Rumor has it she's the only one who knows Destро's secret identity, qualified weapons expert and hiss tank operator. First, before we look at Destro's darling, we're going to grab the tape measure and see how tall the 2nd edition Baroness stands. She is the 2nd edition because we did already receive a Baroness that was based more on the miniseries The Masked Device, that had more of the blue color scheme. I prefer this version of Baroness, and probably one of the reasons why I also sold the Masked Device Baroness, so I won't be able to bring her in for comparison. Though I had a little bit of seller's remorse. I have since pre-ordered or have ordered another version of that Masked Device Baroness, so she'll be coming sometime soon. In the meantime, though, Baroness is going to stand about 6.5 inches in height, or the figure is going to be about 17 centimeters tall. I don't know. Maybe my decision to sell that other Baroness was heavily influenced by the guy behind her. Here's what she looks like with Destro. And honestly, I just think like the Masked Device Baroness, while of course Destro would have been in the mini-series Masked Device, I don't think she really stood well with him. I think just having the version 2 Baroness makes a little bit more sense, because that's the costume, of course, she has mostly throughout the entire series. Here's as well what she looks like with Cobra Commander. Nice looking Cobra Commander. We also just looked at as well the Master of Disguise. Here's what she looks like with Zartan. Zartan does, I mean, if you look at Zartan next to Baroness, like maybe he is a little short. I don't know. Maybe he's probably of the proper size. On this side, of course, we can also bring in some Joes. Here's what she looks like with Duke. And here's also what she looks like with Scarlet. It's actually funny that I'm bringing both Duke and Scarlet in. Baroness would have been part of the original OG team of Cobra. Duke and Scarlet, the OG Joes. And yet, whenever I think of actually Baroness interacting with any of the Joes, I tend to think of more Flint and Lady J. So running through the accessories to come include with the dear Baroness. First, the figure comes include with something more inspired by the original vintage toy, is her rifle. Now, with the original rifle, I think this was more molded in black plastic rather than the gray they decided on, and it certainly didn't also have the shoulder strap. I'm just looking at, though, at the shoulder strap, and it looks like it's permanently attached to the side of the gun. I would have honestly just done away with the strap myself, or at the very least had something removable, of course, if you wanted to have it more like the original toy, but I guess it's something at least you can have it strapped across the front of her, or strapped against the back of her torso instead. The figure also as well comes included with a lot of episode-specific accessories. This is the thing I really liked about Super 7, is the fact that, especially with the Joes, they throw in a lot of things that you can look at them, and if you're a big Joe fan, you can kind of think right away, oh, okay, I know exactly the episode that appears in. Like, for example, the basket with the Cobra that sprays the mist. I think this is actually the episode where she breaks out Cobra Commander. She goes up to the warden, obviously not dressed like Baroness, and proceeds to open up the basket. The Cobra comes up, psst, sprays in the warden's face, and Cobra Commander can escape. The thing about the basket, though, is when you're looking at it, there is actually a top to the basket, but because the snake can't be removed, the basket top serves no purpose other than just sort of being off to the side. If you're going to be displaying it, I suppose you could just have like the basket lid like that, but it just seems like unnecessary plastic. You can't do anything with it, so why include it in the first place? For the snake, for what it is a really nice little Cobra. Of course, you got the mist there done in more of a translucent purple plastic. Looking very, very nice. I don't think actually the mist is removable. If anything, I would imagine just wiggling it back and forth probably would just end up breaking off the fangs, so just leave it alone. Don't touch it. Don't touch it, whatever you do. Putting it off to the side, the figure also as well comes included with Load of Cobra. The perfume, of course, that Cobra tries to market, I think ends up causing mind control. Like the little detail of having the little Cobra crest on the top there. Very small, like if you're looking at the hands, for example, she doesn't really have proper hands for holding some of these accessories. I mean, like you could take the perfume bottle and sort of wedge it in between like the larger of the gripping hands. I guess it does an okay job of holding Lid de Cobra. The figure also as well of similar size comes also include the Cobra Grenade. This I have dropped, I don't know how many times. The grenade itself is about the same size as the perfume bottle. It does have some pretty nice decorative details though. You can see like, kind of looks like the Cobra face on the top and then the crest on the sides. Really nice little grenade. But again, about the same size as the perfume bottle. She comes also with the conch of the sirens. Of course, this is also something that's an episode-specific accessory. For a second, it actually does look like it's painted, so I don't want to say that it was molded here in yellow plastic. It looks like it was probably molded in a different plastic, and then they probably just would have painted over top of it in yellow. Conch of the Sirens, really nice reference. And then again, you also get something that's referenced, the Seal of Alaska. For those who have the possession of the Seal of Alaska, basically owns Alaska. So it's a really, again, nice episode-specific accessory. The bottom almost looks like you could remove it, but it's not the case at all. It's very nicely detailed. You got the gemstones, rhinestones, whatever stones would be attached onto the seal of Alaska. Really, again, like you don't really have a tabletop. There's nothing really that comes included by Baroness where you could put all this stuff out. But the fact that they include all the things that they do, you could look at it and say, okay, that's a bit of a waste of plastic. I probably could have found other purposes, other places, especially with the basket lid. Just doesn't even serve a purpose. I suppose you could probably take the Seal of Alaska and put that inside of it. But in that, why would we get the top of the basket? Makes no sense. You also get the telescopic camera. She's not only just taking photos, but she's also taking shots, literally. The camera itself doesn't actually you can't remove the telescopic lens, but it's a nice little, again, reference to one of the episodes in the cartoon. Really nice. She also comes included, unlike this gun, we're going to bring this back here, which again was more based on the original toy line. We get kind of more of a gun that we're used to seeing Baroness wielding in the actual cartoon. It's molded again nicely here in black plastic. I'm probably sure we're going to be getting this rifle again. Hope, though, that the G.I. Joe Ultimate line still continues and that Super 7 doesn't just decide to cancel like they did with the Simpsons. Oh, I'm still bummed about that. The fact that they would cancel the Simpsons Ultimates. Any one of these weapons, by the way, again, she does have some gripping hands, so you can get yourself a couple of hands going there. There's also actually specifically a hand that, if you look at it, does have a trigger finger. So that fits perfectly just right around the trigger section, if you can actually get it all the way down there, around the trigger section of the gun. You can have the figure, of course, displayed with that as well. Other accessories, she also comes included with karate chopping hands. I feel like Zartan also came included with similar style of hands, although hers would be a little bit smaller. She comes also included with a much wider grip hand, obviously good for holding the grenade or the perfume bottle. And she comes also, again, we already looked at this, the trigger finger, and she also comes with a couple of, again, gripping hands. By the way, to change out any one of these hands is just a case of holding onto their forearm, wiggling carefully, and just removing the peg. Obviously, when you remove the peg, you want to hope that it's going to remove as well the hand that goes with it. And then just take yourself, let's just take this hand, for example. We'll just plug it back in place. Be sure, by the way, when you are putting this back in our socket, that you're twisting this. Don't just force it in there, because if you're forcing it in and it's not going to be completely going in, you might just ultimately snap that peg off, and you'll be very upset. But that's what Baroness looks like, of course, with something a little bit more closer to what she would have had in the actual cartoon. Looks really good. Looks really good on her. So let's go ahead and put all those accessories just off to the side, not knocking over anything. We'll just put it back right there. Figure also comes included with a couple of swappable heads. One of which is actually with the pilot head, the one with the pilot helmet. I think we've seen this maybe one or two episodes where she's actually piloting a Rattler, and she has this specific helmet. I mean, it's fine and good, but we don't really have ourselves a Rattler. I mean, obviously, I don't know what we are going to be getting in the way of vehicles for G.I. Joe. We haven't gotten really anything so far. Maybe we're going to be getting something similar to the Thunder tank from Thundercats. If we do get a Rattler, I guess there's probably going to be a head that's going to go along with it. But, I mean, as of right now, would you ever see yourself, as good as it may look, other than maybe the teeth looking a little off, I mean, as good as it may look, will you end up ever displaying it really with Baroness? No? Everybody's nodding their head? Everybody's nodding their head. Okay. The hair, by the way, on all of these head sculpts is pretty soft. So it's not going to give us too much of a hassle when it comes to rotating the head sculpt. Popping the head off, do you want to see what the head sculpt, the defaulted looks like first? Okay, all right, there we go. The defaulted head is a pretty good-looking likeness to the Baroness. If anything, I would say, like in the cartoon, one of the things I did mention when we looked at Scarlet was I felt like her forehead was a little more of a 5 head than a 4 head. Baroness, actually, in the cartoon, is more of a 5 head than a 4 head. And I feel like the hairline should be a little bit higher on her. I mean, it's just, it's again a small little quip. Does have the glasses, of course, like the original Mass Device. The Mass Device would have had, I believe, blue glasses. This one now, actually, no, green, because her outfit would have been blue. Nice looking head sculpt. I mean, again, like just a neutral expression for Baroness. But again, to change the head out, it's just a case, watch the glasses, of course, and just pop the head off the ball joint, put the new head sculpt in place, put a little bit of pressure down on there. And there's Baroness. I don't think I get it all the way on there. There's the Baroness with, again, like the pilot helmet. I don't know. just think I could, I think I could have had that plastic being used for something else, but what do I know? I don't make toys for a living. Not yet, I don't. The one, though, I prefer of all the head sculpts, just put a decapitated Baroness down for a second here, is this one here. If you were to look at the two, there's a lot of differences made. First of all, she now has a smirk on her face instead of a neutral expression. She now also has the blowing off to the side hair, whereas this one just had the hair straight down. Love this head sculpt, and this is probably going to be the head I'm going to go with. And again, because it's softer plastic, first of all, getting the head on the ball joint isn't that difficult. It gives us a little bit of like a dynamic look to character. And of course, when it comes to rotating her head, because there's just enough of a softness to that plastic, doesn't mean that it's going to be too much of an issue when it comes to rotating her head. Really is again, my favorite of the head sculpts. The glasses, I think, are just a little off. There we go. But in that, like, yeah, good looking Baroness. I mean, obviously looking at the body is pretty much what we would get for Baroness in like the later series after the miniseries. So she has more of kind of a dark. Now here's the thing. Like, if you're looking at the toy really depicts this uniform that she wears as a really dark gray. I think honestly in the series, and it does vary, there are some episodes in the series where it's a really dark gray, and then there's other episodes where it kind of comes across more black. I feel like maybe they could have met somewhere in the middle and maybe not given her a completely black outfit, but maybe darken the shade a little bit darker than what we get actually here. She does also have the Cobra emblem there on the front of her chest. This is printed rather than actually sculpted onto her body. I feel like in the series, it does also, again, vary depending on what episode you're watching, but I think like the symbol is just a tad bit bigger and it's a little bit higher up on her body. But again, it's nice for what we get at least. She does have the little straps there on the top. She does also have the gray gloves. All those things, like if you were to watch the series, you could then check off. Yeah, Super 7 did that. Super 7 did that. Okay, yeah, they were good. Oh, maybe they missed the color, but they did that. Like, most of it does do a pretty good job of giving us a decent looking Baroness. The belt itself seems like it's a softer plastic, although it's attached to like the lower half of her body. So we wouldn't be able to, first of all, it doesn't move at all when you're moving the torso. And it does look like they've obviously like glued it right there. They probably glued it on the back there as well. She does have this nice little sculpting with the additional bands that she has on her boots. I'd have to kind of really go back and look at the episode. I always really thought that Baroness had just like straight legs, like, well, straight coloring of the same dark coloring all the way down to the bottom. Never really occurred to me that she has actually something on the back of her calves. Just again, like, do you remember this in the actual cartoon? Not that it didn't exist, but again, always when you're looking at Baroness, you always tend to see her like walking this way, or you really only tend to see her from the top. Never really realized that she actually did have these little calf boots on the back of her legs. Of course, she does have high heels, but if you were to look at them, first of all, she does have peg holes, so you can attach it onto a display stand. One is not included, but you can use a stand from another figure company. The footprint is also of a good enough size that Baroness doesn't have too much of an issue standing. I mean, obviously, you're still going to have to be careful when it comes to displaying her, but she stands actually pretty good. For the figure's articulation, it's pretty much on par with what we got with Scarlet. So the head is going to be on a ball joint. It rotates the head back and forth. If you had, say, for example, kept to this head sculpt, you probably would be able to rotate a lot easier, just because, again, like now she's got the hair blowed off to the side. It does kind of limit a little more of the articulation, but the head does look down, it does look up, and you can also rock it back and forth slightly. Upper torso is going to be on a ball joint. Lower torso is also going to be on a ball joint. The arms come out at about 90 degrees, and of course, you can also take those arms and rotate them all the way around. This one's going to be a little more hung up just because you're going to have to move the hair out of the way. She does have a swivel at the bicep section. Still, again, very limited on all of these figures when it comes to elbows. I mean, both the elbows and the knees are only single hinges. I know a lot of people really do complain that Super 7 are they're pretty outdated when it comes to the articulation on these figures. Sure, yes, they probably could have used double hinges. I'm always all for in favor of getting double hinges on these figures. I mean, double hinges on the knees also would be good too, but unfortunately, like all of these figures tend to only have a single hinge. Single hinges there, rotate the forearm. You can also rotate any hand that you decide to use with Baroness. Legs do split out. Now, this leg is really tight, and it keeps continuing as I move this out. It feels like it's getting hung up on something. I don't really know what it is. It doesn't look like there's some additional plastic or anything like that. This leg easily moves out. No problems there. But the legs move forward. They move back. There's a mild swivel at the top of the thigh. I mean, would you say that's mild? I think that's a little bit more than mild. There's also a single hinge, again, on the knee. No leg articulation, or no lower leg articulation. She does have at least an ankle pivot back and forth, really, again, tight, and she does also rock back and forth there as well. Yeah, again, like, maybe I pulled the trigger too quickly to sell my mass device Baroness. I mean, in hindsight, obviously, I probably should have just held on to her. Why is now that? There we go. I don't know about that leg. That one leg seems really, again, hung up. yeah, maybe I should probably held on to Mass Device Baroness. Not that it really matters, because I mean, I ultimately just went back and ordered another one. And, one of the benefits, they drop a few things on the floor. One of the benefits also with the Super7 stuff, if you wait it out and they still have things in stock, I think I end up getting Baroness, the Mass Device version of her, probably on Entertainment Earth for, I feel like, $20. So maybe, again, it was a blessing. I sold the one. I ended up changing my mind. I picked up another one. Still, ultimately, though, I like this Baroness as being my favorite. I mean, it just is the one that when I think of the cartoon Baroness, I always think of this one. I don't ever really think of the blue outfit Baroness that has the green glasses. And of course, if you're looking then to display hers with the rest of the Cobras that we've gotten so far, I've yet to actually pick up myself Storm Shadow. I think this Baroness is the one that blends in the best with the rest of the Cobra colleagues. Nice looking figure. And really, while I was disappointed that Zartan didn't come include with, like, for example, his different masks, because of course he is the master of disguise, Baroness makes up for it. Baroness does make up for it. She comes include with not only accessories for herself, but she also comes with things that we also saw specific to episodes as well too. And that's not a bad thing at all. Well, I guess if Baroness has the seal of Alaska, then that must mean she's the owner of Alaska. That's all required. Like, I only need to go next door to my next door neighbor and just take his lawn chair. Oh, I'm the owner of this house. What makes you the owner? That's my house. Well, I have your lawn chair. Okay, maybe it's a little bit more involved than just that. The fact that the figure comes, first of all, with the seal of Alaska, and then not to mention all the other accessories as well. Nice little included references to all those episodes. Baroness has, of course, things referencing also back to her vintage toy, although unfortunately with the vintage toy gun is that it does have the shoulder strap permanently attached to it. I tried to look at it again and just assume that it was maybe pegged on there, but no, that strap's pretty glued on there. And if you only were just to take it off, you would just end up breaking the strap, and then you'd be pretty sad that you even tried it in the first place. Of the 3 head sculpts that we get for Baroness, we have one that's good, we have one that's great, and we have one that I just would never really display with the figure, the one that has the aviator helmet. Again, nice little reference point, but again, like the lid to the basket, I just don't feel like it's ever going to be anything that someone's going to display with their figure. Not that I'm going to make the assumption. Maybe there's a Joe collector out there that's picking up the Super7 Baroness with the idea in mind to display her with the Rattler helmet. I don't know. But what I do know, though, is that the figure does spare a pretty good likeness to the character the way she is in the cartoon. Sort of like Scarlet, she's close, but she's off slightly, but it's good enough to at least be a fully articulated version of the way the Baroness appears in the cartoon. And again, like when I eventually get that Mass Device Baroness that should be arriving any time now, I probably should have just waited. Because if I waited and got the Mass Device Baroness, then I could have brought her in for the comparison. But if anything, I could probably just say, if you guys want to see the review of the Baroness from the Mass Device, it's on here on the channel as well. Just shamelessly plugging the content. If you guys have picked up, first of all, have you guys picked up any of the new G.I. Joe Ultimate figures? This is what I think Wave 4 should be dropping now in March. And I did, again, get this one at Entertainment Earth. I got this one and Zartan. And, of course, the earlier looked at Scarlet, which I think Scarlet was of the previous wave. Got this all at Entertainment Earth. If you guys haven't had any luck at all to find these in the wild, would like to get these yourself, you can click the link down below in the video description. That will take you over to Entertainment. And then you can also, use that link, and it'll save you 10% on anything that's currently in stock over there. Whether you want to get the Baroness, whether you want to get Super7, or whether you just want to get something completely different like Transformers. You can use that link and save yourself a little bit of cash. But if you guys did, in the meantime, enjoy this video, I want to throw it a like. If you guys did want to stick around for more and you haven't already done it, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, and make sure as well you're turning on the bell notification. We will be doing some more, not maybe G.I. Joe Ultimates, but we got some more Super7 stuff coming your way in the more current tense. Future tense is that we're going to be grabbing some more G.I. Joe Ultimate figures, again, just as I'm able to grab them. And of course, those reviews will be coming away. If in the meantime, you guys want to go back and look at the reviews I've also done of other Ultimate figures from Super7, then popping up, there we go, plug in again, popping up at the very end will be a playlist. You can feel free to check that out. And that's everything, again, I've reviewed for the company. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.